I've closed thousands of high-ticket clients, and this here is the onboarding process that I've refined over the past 8 years. And today I'm going to teach it to you, because if you sign up a client, their first impression on working with your business is so important if you want to increase retention, if you want to increase reviews and referrals, and honestly, if you just want an easier life, because 90% of this process can be automated. I'm going to run through that today. It took me a long time to figure this shit out. It's going to take you 30 to 45 minutes, depending on how long this video goes on for. And this will apply to you if you're a service-based business owner, regardless of what service you sell and who to, even if you're in a software and frankly any business for that matter. So pay attention and let's get stuck into it. So the first step of this process is of course getting a yes, okay? So this is the process that we follow to take a prospect and onboard them as a client into the business. So we've got that verbal yes on the call, okay? Regardless of whether or not we've collected a payment, we are going to start the onboarding process. The key is we want to go for a presumptive close, okay? We want to presume that this person is 100% going to go ahead, regardless of whether or not they have already paid. Now, what's important about this process is it achieves the 3 C's, as I call them. The first being convenience. It must be a convenient process for the prospect to go through. There can't be much friction at all. And whilst this might look a little bit complicated to you for now, it's like the graceful swan. You're kicking underwater, doing all of the work, and on the surface, you're just gliding along, okay? This is the prospect, just gliding through this process. It's got to be nice and convenient, and it's got to lack friction, okay? The next C is clarity. It must be crystal clear what the next step is at every stage of this process, okay? You can't have your clients second guessing what they need to do next. It needs to be crystal clear and very simple. And then finally, confidence. You've sold someone on a specific result through a service, okay, that you are implementing on their behalf. They must feel confident at the start of this process that you can achieve that result, and even more confident at the end of the process that you can achieve that result as well. And so we're going to over-deliver straight from the start, and we're going to wow them throughout this. Okay, and there's a couple of little tricks here that I'm going to highlight to you that's just really going to change the game if you've got any kind of onboarding process so far. So we get the yes, and then the first thing we're going to do is we're going to book the onboarding call. Okay, so we can just call that the on. Hopefully you can see this. Okay. So we're going to book the onboarding call. This is a manual step, okay? You are going to do this on the sales call itself. You do not want to book an onboarding call away from a sales call. This has to be booked when you've got that yes before you leave the call. We're not instilling that clarity in front of people. If we're like, okay, here's a link, find a time that works for you. They get distracted into their day-to-day life. We've got to book that call before we leave the sales call. That's a non-negotiable. Now, the next stage is what I call the trigger form, okay? It's not going to be the easiest to write on, okay? And just imagine this for now like a Google form, which you're going to fill in after you book the onboarding call, that's going to trigger this entire automation. Now, I'm going to run through this process first of all and explain it, and then we're going to go through the whole thing again, and I'll talk about how you can actually automate this. But the trigger form is the first step to the automation. It's where you're going to fill in all of the relevant data points, the company's name, the email address maybe, an actual address as well, what the price is and the package and the service that they're signed up. 3 to 6 questions that's going to feed data into the rest of this entire automation, okay? So this is really the final manual step of this entire flow, okay? Now that trigger form is then going to instantaneously send over the contract, okay? You might call this an agreement, okay? This is just simply the terms of working with your business. It's going to outline not just the terms, but the service that you're going to be fulfilling and any terms relating to that. Of course, the price and the payment terms attached. And of course, you're going to get a signature from the prospect as well and from your end, okay? Now, let's not get into the technicalities of what that contract needs to look like. Okay, broadly speaking, if you're a service-based business owner, it's going to be from a 30-day term to a 3-month term. If you're just starting out, I'd probably recommend doing monthly rolling. And so we're going to trigger that contract straight away. And then at the same time as well, we're going to send over the invoice. Okay. So the invoice, as it sounds, is just a request to get money. Okay, what we don't want to do is send over just a payment link. We want to make sure that we're sending over an invoice so all of the accounting is done properly and you don't have to go back and send over invoices. For years, we used to send over payment links and people would ask for invoices and we had to go back and do it all. And you want to make sure you send an invoice from the start. So then what we're going to do for our automations, we're going to find out, have they paid or have they not paid? Okay, so we're going to give them 24 hours and we're going to check to see have they actually paid this invoice, yes or no. If they haven't, then what we're going to do is we're going to trigger a follow-up. Okay, and this is going to be a follow-up sequence, typically a 3-step sequence. So this is going to feed back into this point here, okay? And so this is a 3-step follow-up, typically via email. Now, there is another optional step beyond this, beyond the 3-day follow-up sequence. Then what we can do is add an additional step underneath this where we send like a Slack notification or an SMS to yourself as the founder or to your account manager or to someone in the finance team or to operations, whoever is relevant in the company, to then manually follow up with the prospect and give them a call, okay? Let's say we do get that payment nice and simply, with the majority of the time this is going to be the case. What we are then going to do, so we're going to add a tag, and that tag is going to be action. Typically speaking, it's going to be action hyphen invoice paid, or invoice 1 paid. Okay, just to highlight, this is the first time this client has paid an invoice with you. Okay, it's your choice what your tagging system looks like. Okay, now once we have got that tag, this tag is crucial because this tag is then going to fire the next step, which is, you've got to see I've got a star there because this is a huge step in actually increasing client satisfaction and over-delivering. We're going to send over a gift. Okay? We're going to automate the process of sending over a gift to the client. And again, I'm going to highlight how you can actually automate this in a moment. But what we're going to do is we're going to send them, ideally a hamper. Okay, so we've played around with a lot of different gifts over the years. We've sent over a bottle of champagne, but then sometimes people don't drink. We've sent over, we've even had Mont Blanc pens for very, very high ticket clients. We've settled on hampers now. So we've got a supplier in the UK. Have a look for a supplier yourself. There's going to be all sorts of hamper companies all over the world. And we send them over a non-alcoholic hamper, which has things like biscuits, crisps, and various other little goodies and so on and so forth. If it costs you under $100 or £100, it is well worth it. It leaves a massive lasting impression. Also, generally speaking, you want to have some kind of a note that is delivered as that is sent as well. And most companies will be able to facilitate that on your behalf, and you can automate the process of sending this over. It is so worth doing this because it sets the relationship off on a high. I mean, when was the last time you worked with a service provider and they sent you over a gift? Okay? Probably haven't had it before. And if you have had it before, you know exactly what I'm talking about. It makes you feel really damn good. And so this is like a non-negotiable step. Send over a gift to the clients that you work with. It's going to start you off on the right foot. Now, next step, I'm actually going to come back to. Okay, this is an optional step, but something that we implemented that really changed, again, just expedited the speed to win with the client and just really elevated the perception of the business that we run and how professional that we are. Okay, so skipping this for now, the next step is group chat. Okay, and this is going to be, if you're a solo founder, you're just starting off, this is just going to be you and the client, that's absolutely fine. If you're more established, then this is going to be a group chat with anyone from your business who's going to be working on this account. Now, our preference is WhatsApp. We like using WhatsApp groups, okay? And we put, as a paid advertising agency, we put media buyers in there, account managers, graphic designers, whoever is working on that account is going to be in there, and of course the person that closed them as well. This is all still happening instantaneously at this point. All of this stuff is happening instantaneously. So at the same time the contract, the invoice is being sent, the group chat is also being triggered. This is really important that you trigger the group chat and you get them in a chat straight away from getting the yes, even if they haven't paid the invoice. Many people will wait until this step here when they've got an invoice paid to get them in the onboarding group chat, okay? And the problem with that is they're waiting for the client to get over the line before they take any action, okay? And actually, this is a huge amount of leverage in order for you to get the client to convert in the first place. Because I'll be honest with you, some people say yes when they don't actually want to say yes. They're kind of like umming and ahhing. They say yes, but they want to come away from the call. They want to think about it a little bit and dwell on it. When you go for the assumptive close, as it's called, and you chuck them in the group chat and you introduce them to everyone in the team, you share in the excitement, you're acting, okay, they are 100% going ahead with this. We've got your onboarding call booked in. This is everyone else in the company. Like, we're so excited. And everyone else in the team, this is very important, everyone else in the team is responding immediately. They're sending over the fire emojis. They're sending over the rocket. Can't wait to help you scale. Can't wait to help you grow. That creates an immense amount of pressure in order to go ahead and proceed, okay? And Most people need that push. Let's be honest. If you're on the fence, you're like, yeah, yes, let's do this. Let's 100%. Let's get into it. But you're kind of on the fence. It's likely that you need the push, and the reason why you're not successful, the reason why you're not getting the result you're trying to buy in the first place, is because you've got a problem with your relationship on making decisions. Okay, and this allows them to make the right decision. And this has just mopped up so many clients for us over the time. So get that group chat set up regardless of whether or not the contract has been signed and the payment has been made. And at the same time as that, as I just highlighted, we're going to do the welcome message. Okay. Okay, so that welcome message. Okay, so this welcome message has about 4 key components. I'll highlight them to you right now. The first thing that we want to do is hype, okay? We want to hype up the prospect. We want to reaffirm the result that we have just sold them on and what we're going to achieve for them. Step 2 is we are going to intro the team. So we're going to introduce them to everybody else inside the business, and then when they respond, they know who they're speaking to. We are going to confirm the call. And by this, I'm referring to the onboarding call. Okay, so great. Your onboarding call is at this time on this day with me or with whoever else in the company. So we're confirming that time so they've got that information. And then finally, what we are going to do is we're going to send the onboarding page. Okay, or an onboarding form depending on your current process. Okay, and this is something that I'm going to go into in this step. So what we want to do is we want to have an onboarding form set up for every client. We like to do an onboarding dashboard, which I'm going to run through for you and what that actually looks like. And the onboarding form in its simplest form is simply a series of questions that you need the client to fill in order for you to fulfill the service to the highest level. Okay, now some of you watching this won't actually need that onboarding form. Some of you will have a service which is super simple. You've got all the information that you needed from the sales process itself. The majority of you, if you're, let's say, an advertising agency or an AI lead gen agency, you're going to want an onboarding form to find out information like the client's biggest competitors as they perceive it to be, their best products and services, any offers that they've run in the past that have performed particularly well. Okay, and then also any assets as well, so any content assets and so on that they can start uploading in the interim ahead of your onboarding call. So you've got all of this information, you can come to that call with a head start. Now, the reality is not all prospects will actually get to that form before the onboarding call itself. Sometimes the onboarding call becomes your opportunity to just make sure you collect that information. But good clients will go ahead and do that, and it's going to give you a head start, meaning you can get started as soon as possible. And that's all going to just increase ultimately the customer experience, retention, referrals, reviews, easier life, and all of those positive benefits. Okay, so these are all the main things you want to have in your welcome message. Make sure it's a small message. You don't want it to be any longer than what you can see on just like one screenshot on your phone. Anything bigger than that and it's way too long, it's going to be overwhelming. So keep it nice and short, keep it brief, but make sure you include each of these elements, okay, regardless of whether or not they've done all of this yet, regardless of whether or not they're paid. And again, we're going to automate that immediately when the group chat has been set up. Okay, so this is a wobbly old thing. So the next thing that we are going to do, once we have sent that welcome message, is we're going to jump on the onboarding call. Okay, so we're going to jump on the onboarding call, and this call wants to be booked, okay, a maximum of 72 hours after the closing call, okay? Sometimes that's not going to be possible because the client, they're going on holiday and so on and so forth. It wants to be a maximum, ideally 72 hours afterwards, ideally 24 hours or even 48 hours afterwards, just as soon as possible, because we want to strike whilst the iron is hot, whilst the motivation is there, whilst they're still really excited about, you know, working with you, jumping on that call and so on and so forth. Okay, so what do we go through on the onboarding call itself? Now, the first step is expectations. What we are trying to do here is we are outlining the process, a roadmap for what it's going to look like on working with you as an agency. And the key is we are not over-promising, we're doing the exact opposite. We are under-promising to the prospect. This is a realistic journey. And even if you've signed them up on a monthly rolling contract, we're going to outline this journey and extrapolate it over 3 months, 6 months, 12 months, okay? We're going to create that future. We're going to plant the seed of them working with us for a very long time. But the most important thing that we're doing here is we're making it clear what's actually going to happen. So the client doesn't come to us in 7 days' time and says, hang on a second, we haven't made any money yet. Where's our return on investment? Okay, because you oversold them, or worse, you just failed to set clear expectations, which is a very simple part of the process that many people miss out, okay? So if it's going to take you 2 weeks to launch your first campaigns for a client, that's absolutely fine. Let them know that, okay? People are only disappointed and annoyed with the service they get from agencies when they have the wrong expectations, okay? When they're misaligned with what they thought was actually going to be happening. So make sure you start off with expectations, okay? Number 2, we are going to finish onboarding, okay? Finish OB, okay? Now, this is going to be going through and just checking the onboarding form. I'm going to put form up here for now, even though we're going to change this. I'm going to put form up here, and actually some of you will just have an onboarding form. That's absolutely fine. Others of you will want to create what we do, which is a little bit more detailed. But what we're going to do at this stage is we're going to check the onboarding form, see if they've filled it in properly. Are there any missing pieces of the puzzle? Is there any further information that we need to collect? Okay, if you're an ad agency, you might need to get access to their ad account and so on, which you can instruct them on, during that onboarding page, during that onboarding form. But broadly speaking, these kind of things are where there's technicalities that have to come into play. They're normally better off just finished on the onboarding call, so there's no friction. Again, remember, we are trying to make this convenient for the client, and so if they're not tech savvy, just because it's simple to you, don't presume that it's simple to the client, okay? And if there's any kind of annoyance when going through that process, if they've wasted a couple of hours trying to do something and had to give up, okay, it's not going to feed into a positive, lasting impression of the onboarding process. And so you're better off leaving those things to the onboarding call, and you can just get them sorted there and then, okay? The third step is something I'm going to skip for now. I'm going to come on to in a moment. This is kind of a unique step to us inside of the business. The fourth step is next steps. Okay, so in the theme of clarity, they need to understand what the next step is in the process. Okay, this is what's going to happen next. We're going to come away from this onboarding form. We're going to look at the information. We're going to build out your first ad strategy, and then we're going to create some creatives. And then what we're going to do is we're going to jump on a kickoff call together where we're going to present those to you. And then we're going to get started and launch on this date. So next steps, it needs to be crystal clear what is happening next. They must have clarity coming off this call. And then the fifth and final step is you're going to book that kickoff call. Okay, so the kickoff is not to be mistaken with the onboarding. The kickoff call is after we've gathered all of our onboarding information, after we have everything we need, after we've built out an initial strategy or a proposal, then we're going to jump on this call. We're going to say, are you happy with everything? Okay. And then we're going to go ahead and launch. Even if you know and you've got a wealth of experience in an industry, even if you know and we've generated literally millions, over 150 million for e-commerce brands all over the world and info businesses in our agency, we know what works. We still consult the client on the first round of iteration just to give them the opportunity to give their feedback, okay? Do they like the creative? Do they like the branding? Are they happy with the offers and so on that we are running? We get them involved in the process so there are no nasty surprises, no awkward conversations after we have launched. We, again, are using this as an opportunity to make sure we're aligned, and this step here, this kickoff call, is instilling that confidence that we are adopting the right strategy in order to get the result that they bought from working with us in the first place. Okay, so this is the onboarding process. It's probably a good time actually to go and skip ahead somewhat to go into what this part here is, what we do instead of an onboarding form. And I'll preface this by saying we used to use onboarding forms as a solo thing, but what we found was clients always would come back to us with questions. They would want to come back and refer to information when we would jump on calls with them, whether it be reports or whether it be just catch-up calls. They would want to go back and look at that information. So then we started sending them over Firefly's link, and things just got really messy really quickly. And so what we now do do inside of the business is, and I'll see if I can throw this up on screen right now so you can see an example, is we use Notion to create a customer dashboard. So this is a simple dashboard that we have templatized that each and every one of our clients gets access to. They don't need a Notion account. They simply click a link and they can access this dashboard, okay? Now, there are a number of things that this dashboard needs to include, okay? This dashboard has to include the following. Number one, it's going to have the roadmap, okay? So this is going to be a very simple table, which is just going to outline what is going to happen over the next few months. This is so we always have one place that's instilled in the client's brain, which is outlining what this process is going to look like. So again, we are always aligned with each other. This has saved so many conversations. Refer back to the roadmap. Anytime we're misaligned, look at the roadmap. This is what we're working on right now. Okay, step two is the form. Okay, this is what most people only have. So this is where we're asking the questions. We actually do also include instructions on getting access to their Facebook ad account in our advertising agency. So any access details that you need, you can add there as well. Step three is going to be a file storage. Okay. And in our instance, this is just simply a link to a Google Drive folder where they're going to upload images and videos and so on that we're going to use for ads. And then step four is going to be call recordings. Okay. And we automate this process as well. So this is all completely automated. Any call recording from, let's say, Google Meets that we use is being automatically imported into a database on Notion so they can go back and they can refer to those call recordings at any time and they can see the information and the outline summary and everything as well that is happening there. So this is a customized dashboard which is branded to them. It's got their logo in a cover image. It's got their name at the top of the page. We automate the process of creating this on make.com and Notion, okay? And this is something that we give to the client straight away immediately. So they say yes to work with us and literally within minutes, they have access to a form which is seemingly bespoke made to them. They click a link and they can see it all there. This creates a huge lasting impression inside the business. We've had so many clients over the years comment on the professionalism that this instills, okay? Because just imagine the customer experience for a moment. Imagine the experience of working with an agency or a service-based business where 99% of people who work with you book in an onboarding call. That's pretty standard, okay? You jump on an onboarding call. This is the stuff we're going to go through. They might get you in a WhatsApp group or a Slack group and all welcome you to the team, okay? And then just send you over a Google form, okay? A Google form, fill in this information, that's all we need. Think about the subjective experience if you were on the receiving end of receiving a completely customized dashboard to you with your branding, with the roadmap, with access to anything that you could possibly need. So all of your objections and questions are already answered ahead of time, and you've got one place to go and access everything that you could need in working with the business, okay? This is well worth setting up. I cannot recommend this enough. So at this point, we can get rid of what we've got up the top here, and we can add that in, okay? So let's call this the dash. That's what we call it, the client dash. And it's Notion that we use to build that out. You can go ahead and you can replicate what we've built for all I care. That's all good. And people in our community have access to that dashboard. It's all templatized inside of something that we call Agency OS, which is a big Notion project management system that we use for the business. We use it for everything. Stage number three is, so it's going to be the dash, okay? So in this welcome message, what we're not doing is we're not sending over the entire dashboard right away. We're only sending them a link to the onboarding form page that's on the dashboard. Okay, so the second page on the dashboard is the onboarding form. Okay, they're going to access that. Now, if they want to, they can click the back button, they can figure out and they can go look at the dashboard. And for the clients that are tech savvy, they see that, they're like, wow, this is amazing. But for most of them, they'll just fill in the onboarding information. When they jump on the onboarding call, we then reveal the greater dash. And that's what really gets the wow, okay, from the clients. And they're like, okay, these guys are serious. I made the right decision. This is not like every other agency that I've ever worked with that have burnt me in the past, okay? No one gave me this. And first impressions are everything in this instance, okay? Until you start working with, people think that nothing really matters until you start getting results for the client, and that's what separates you from everyone else. They're wrong. The first impression, the way that you're perceived, the way that you talk, okay, your professionalism, the relationship with the team and so on, these are all the things that are immediately going to make the client know that they've made the right decision in working with you, okay? So 24 hours, 48 hours, 72 hours have passed. We're jumping on the onboarding call. We've just hosted that. We've booked in the kickoff call. In the interim, what is happening? You're delivering the first service, okay, so first delivery. Okay, so this is regardless of what business you're in, this is going to be different for each of you. If you're an ad agency, it might be creating the first ads, building out the strategy. If you're a web agency, it might be building a Figma. You know the deal. During that process, you're going to be coming up with something tangible that you're then going to present to the client on the kickoff call, which can happen up to 5 days after the onboarding call. Depends on the service. Ideally, it wants to be as soon as possible after the onboarding call. But if you're really busy, you've got a backup. That isn't always possible. Okay, and then we're going to have that kickoff. Okay, so we're going to have that kickoff call. And this is where we're actually going to get started with the service itself. Let me outline what we do. So, it's really simple. The first thing is we're going to answer questions. We find that things are nice and clear throughout this entire process, okay? After we've implemented the dash, after we've spoken about the initial strategy, people start to have some questions. So we want to start off the call by saying, just before we get into this, do you have any questions since we last spoke? Go through those questions first. You don't want to start going into your strategy and outlining what's going to happen next and all these things if the prospect or if the client already had questions before you got even into the process, okay? So answer their questions first, make sure that they have clarity before you then proceed. The second thing that you're going to do, and the important part of the kickoff call, is you have the rest of the team on. The onboarding call wants to be one-to-one. Okay? You don't want to do group onboardings. It can get really complicated and get overwhelming. Onboarding is one-to-one. Kickoff is one-to-many. Okay? Or if the prospect, the client has a couple of people in the team, they can jump on. There's a lot of people on this call. Okay? So what we want to do is we want to reintroduce team. We want to reintroduce team for the core reason that not everyone is going to be in that group chat. And also, this is a physical introduction. You're on the call, you can see their face, go through and introduce everyone, let them know, this is Tom. He is our job title. This is what he's going to be doing on your account specifically. So they know exactly who they're speaking to, they know what they do inside of your business and what they're going to do on their account, okay, to help deliver the service and help get that end result. A really important step. And then the third and final step is just present first stage, okay? You're going to present that first stage strategy, okay? So this is what we're going to be working on. This is what we've created. We're planning on launching on this date. What do you think? Any thoughts, feedback, and so on and so forth, okay? So you're just going to present the first stage of your service, and it's going to be different for each and every one of you, and then that's our onboarding process done, okay? So that is us ready to go to start working with the client. We've covered the 3 C's. And of course, it goes without saying that this kickoff call recording is going to automatically feed into the dash. Okay. And same with this onboarding call, that's going to feed into the dash as well. These call recordings will automatically be there. The prospect can go back, they can look at the summary, they can look at the action points, okay, and they can refer to them so they have the clarity at any point just by clicking a link that they've got on their phone, okay, and it's nice and simple. Now, I haven't highlighted the reason why we like to do WhatsApp on our end over Slack. We've used Slack and many other communicational tools over the years, and we still use Slack for our team, okay? We love Slack. Slack is awesome for internal communications. We find that when shit hits the fan with clients, and shit will hit the fan, things won't always be simple, they just message you where you are, okay? They message you like they message their friends or their family. They're going to WhatsApp you, or they're going to SMS you, or they're going to call you. Now, WhatsApp is the closest thing to personal communication as an SMS or a call, okay? So we like to put people in a WhatsApp group. We find that's where clients communicate the best. We've had feedback and we've done surveys. People like being in a WhatsApp, okay? But it's completely your choice depending on your service, depending on your niche. If you're in a much more professional service business where they're already using Slack, if your clients already use Slack on a daily basis, by all means get them in a Slack group. To be completely honest, I would probably prefer them to be in Slack because it would be easier because we're already communicating there with our team. But at least for our clients, for our business, we've found that WhatsApp seems to be where things are most responsive. So this is the onboarding process outlined to you, how we're going to automate this thing, okay? Because 90% of this is automated, okay? Let me just get the blue and I'll highlight the parts that are automated, okay? So, or maybe it's easier to highlight the parts that are not automated. So this part here, I'm going to ruin this beautiful diagram now, is not automated. Getting the client, yes, it's pretty obvious. We've got them over the line on the call. Booking the onboarding call, that's a process. You're going to go onto your calendar tool. Maybe that's Calendly, maybe it's Go High Level, whatever it is, might even just be Google Calendar, that's fine. Filling in the trigger form is also going to be a manual action. That trigger form, we use Go High Level for our trigger form, okay, and that's where we get all the information. Go High Level is an all-in-one agency management system. It also has got its inbuilt automation tools as well, okay, and so yeah, I recommend using that if you're looking for a place to host this. You could also use Google Forms. That's absolutely fine. This is all automated, again in our instance on Go High Level. Okay, so this is actually a series of 2 different automations. We have one automation which is triggering this part here, okay, which is actually is this part. Okay. So that's automation 2, and this is automation 1. Okay. And this for us is GHL. So when that form is filled in, it sends over the contract with the relevant information, it sends over the invoice, then we'll automatically check, have they paid within 24 hours? If not, then it will send follow-up 1. Have they paid? If not, then it will send follow-up 2. Have they paid? If not, then it will send follow-up 3. If not, then what it will do is it will do the manual action there. Okay, it will say message someone on Slack and so on. For us, it's Slack. It will send a notification to Jess from our team, Sarah, and she then knows she's our sales admin to then go ahead and get in contact and collect that payment from the prospect. Okay, so that's our GHL. If the invoice is paid, then it adds the tag, and then it automatically sends an email. Again, we use GHL to send an email to our supplier to order a gift. So what you don't need to do is find a supplier that has some kind of web portal that you can integrate with Make or Zapier and so on. All you need to do is have a supplier that knows what your order is and you know which information you need to gather. So for us, it's just the address of the prospect. And then what we do is we take that address field and we automatically import it on Go High Level into an email, send it over to the supplier. They then know to send the gift, but we only do that when we've received the tag that they've actually made the payment. We don't want to accidentally send a gift to prospects that aren't actually going to move ahead with the service. Okay, so that's the GHL automation. This here for us is Make, okay? Make.com. And it just doesn't have to be Make. Make is a great automation tool. You can do this on N8N, okay? But for us, it's Make. It's completely your choice which of these you use. If you want me to create a detailed video on like Make.com and how to use it and so on, let me know in the comments. If enough of you want that, then that's something I can create in the future. So we create the dashboard with Notion. There's a little bit of Notion automation going on to create that. Even if you didn't automate the creation of the dashboard, you could do that manually, okay? And that would only take you like literally 5 minutes to do that step. But we automate that. We automate the group chat. We automate the welcome message, okay? And so that part is then done. But then of course, the onboarding call, first delivery, kickoff call are manual processes, okay, for now, okay? One day maybe we'll be able to automate all of that as well. So that's the onboarding process. Go and implement it. Subscribe for more. And I'll see you soon. Cheers.